As you are able, I invite you to rise in body or in spirit as you join in our call to worship. Christ is born, Emmanuel.
Christ's birth does amend our journey. It is a new beginning.
It's okay if we still feel confused or lost.
We are committed to staying the course.
We are ready to seek the star of God's vision.
We remember that we don't chart this path alone.
Come, let us worship the God of hope and peace. Amen. Holy Gospel according to Matthew, the 2nd chapter.
Glory to you, O Lord.
After Jesus was born in Bethlehem in the territory of Judea during the rule of King Herod, Magi came from the east to Jerusalem. They asked, "Where is the newborn King of the Jews? We've seen his star in the east, and we've come to honor him." When King Herod heard this, he was troubled, and everyone in Jerusalem was troubled with him. He gathered all the chief priests and the legal experts and asked them where the Christ was to be born. They said, "In Bethlehem of Judea, for this is what the prophet wrote. You, Bethlehem, land of Judah, by no means are you the least among the rulers of Judah, because from you will come one who governs, who will shepherd my people Israel." Then Herod secretly called for the Magi and found out from them the time when the star had first appeared. He sent them to Bethlehem, saying, "Go and search carefully for the child, and when you found him, report to me so that I too may go and honor him." When they heard the king, they went. And look, the star they had seen in the east went ahead of them until it stood over the place where the child was. When they saw the star, they were filled with joy. They entered the house and saw the child with Mary, his mother. Falling to their knees, they honored him. Then they opened their treasure chests and presented him with gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. Because they were warned in a dream not to return to Herod, they went back to their own country by another route. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, O Christ.
Please be seated. It's funny, isn't it, sometimes how life works out, the coincidences or surprising connections that sometimes happen to us. I met my husband, John, in Toronto while I was there going to school at the time, and that's where he was born and raised. He hadn't really even traveled much outside to other parts of Canada. But we soon discovered that he also had a Saskatchewan connection, which is where I was born and raised. His paternal grandpa was born in Regina, as I was. He grew up in Weyburn and began his practice as a medical doctor in the small town of Frontier, Saskatchewan, which is in the southwestern part of the province, not too far from the Montana border. And another coincidence is that's only a few towns over from where my sister and brother-in-law now live and farm. So John's grandpa, he is now 95, and a few years back, he wrote down some of his memoirs of this time as a brand new doctor in remote rural Saskatchewan in the early 1950s. I think it was like 1951 or so that he was there. His stories are both fascinating and also harrowing. Even today, this community is a 2-hour drive from the nearest small city, so a 4-hour drive from Regina. And so you can imagine some of the things that they kind of had to deal with and figure out and troubleshoot when they didn't have all the resources at hand. And he had a huge breadth of cases to deal with limited resources. But there's a theme that comes up again and again in his stories, And having spent the last 10 years living in a rural area, I know that's not uncommon. This theme of community and cooperation, which happens in cities too, but there's something unique, I think, in these smaller communities where everyone really does know one another and where you have to rely on each other for sometimes your survival in these remote areas. So John's grandpa, as a doctor, when they encountered cases that were more than they could deal with in their small town, in their small hospital, sometimes they would have to call for a plane from Regina, a small Cessna plane that would come to take patients to the big city. Of course, there was no airport or airstrip where a plane could land in this small little town of Frontier. And so it was the straight, flat prairie roads that would have to do. And he has this story, he tells about a time when a plane was needed and it was after dark, it was the middle of the night. And so to make sure the plane knew where to land, they had the folks of the town, all those who had vehicles, come and drive out and use their headlights to line each side of this road so that the plane could see where to touch down safely. And I can just imagine everyone waiting there with bated breath, right? In inky darkness, only those bright lights of the vehicles in a row, right? Holding our breath until that plane touches down safely, ready to receive her patient. I imagine it must have been quite exciting. You know, this is something that doesn't happen every day. Must have been very nerve-wracking too. I can't imagine being that pilot trying to land a plane and find that safe spot. But then all okay in the end. And I can't help but wonder if some of those same emotions were ones that the wise men felt on their journey of following the star. Christian tradition maintains that there were 3 wise men, but the Bible doesn't actually tell us how many there were. We know that there were 3 gifts, right? There was gold and frankincense and myrrh, but no enumeration of these men who traveled from afar. What we do know is that they're spoken about in plural, which means there were at least 2, but there could have been 2, 3, or more than that. The Bible calls them magi. They may have been astrologers, right? People who studied the stars looking for signs and meaning. They might even have been priests of the Eastern religion of Zoroastrianism. They were not Jewish, and they were certainly not Christian, but they were folks of faith, people who were searching for hope, for meaning, for answers, perhaps even for the dawning of a new age. I can't help but be curious about their journey. What was it like? How often did they disagree about which way to go? About whether to press on or to stop and rest for a while? I think for any of us who've ever been on, I'm going to say a road trip in particular, but in a confined space, traveling with your family or others, we know that certainly for the wise men, there must have been moments of frustration and conflict, but also moments of great joy and beauty. Right? Traveling together, they had one another for encouragement and affirmation. Likely each one of them brought some helpful expertise or knowledge, and they were united in this common goal of seeing where this star was going to lead them. And it was a huge leap of faith for all of them, right? Setting out just to follow a star, albeit a wondrous and unusual star that they obviously interpreted as something significant, right? A sign of some cosmic event. But you can't help but wonder what their family and friends must have thought of this plan. Just picking up because of a star. But it was indeed God who had put this star in the sky to guide them, to help them find their way to the Christ child, the one who is the light of the world. And I think as humans, we naturally long for signs, right? Some of us maybe more so than others, or maybe we don't want to admit it, but we do like to think or hope that there are signs, right? Signs that we are on the right path, signs that the choices we've made in our lives were the right ones. I think that's true not just for us personally, but for communities, for congregations, right? Especially congregations who look around and we wonder, how did we get here, right? This isn't maybe where we saw ourselves, where we wanted to be. And I think that's not true maybe just here at St. Peter's, but many congregations right now. COVID has been so hard on us, and we want to know where God is leading us. We want to know and feel that there is a plan, that God has a hand in all of this. We want to trust that the future ahead of us is as long as what has come before. We want a sign that we are on the right path, but what will that sign be? How will we know? An unusual star shining in the night sky, headlights of neighbors illuminating a rural country road at night. What lights is God shining to show us the way forward? And where will we find the courage to step out, to take that risk and follow, to discover what future God has in store for us? These are not easy questions to answer. And I think often it's true in life that the answers are really only more clear or evident in hindsight. Right? Sometimes you wander for days, for weeks, for months, following a star, wondering the whole time where it's leading you, having some doubts and wonderings, maybe some frustrations. But then you arrive, and immediately it becomes clear in that moment that you have, in fact, ended up exactly where you need to be. In that moment, you have that clarity. You see that God was, in fact, with you the whole time, guiding your way. As we begin another new year, as we seek to pay attention to the lights God is shining to guide our way, and I think both those spectacular, brilliant star kinds of light, as well as maybe the more ordinary but just as consequential headlights of neighbors coming together on a rural road kind of light. As we're seeking to see those lights in our life, in our community, where God is leading us, I'd like to offer something to you this morning, and that is a star word. I don't know if this is something that's ever been part of your practice here at St. Peter's, but it's something I've done a few years in my previous congregation, and I know several colleagues who do this as well. It's become quite a tradition in some places. And as the name would suggest, star word, it is a word that is written on a star. So like the Epiphany, a story of the wise men following a star that led to the baby Jesus, the idea is that this word is a gift for you. The star, a reminder of the one that we all seek, the one who guides our way. So I have them here in this offering plate. In a few moments, I'll have someone help me pass those around, and you'll be invited to pick a star. They're all facing down, so the idea is you just go in and pick one, and it's a surprise. And they are stickers, so you can put them somewhere where you will see them, on your bathroom mirror, in your car, somewhere on your way out the door in the morning. The idea is that you put them somewhere where you will see them from time to time, and that they can be a reflection, something to reflect on for the upcoming year, right? To ponder what significance this word might have in your life, how God might be speaking to you through this word. Might be that the word you choose speaks to you right away, feels like, yes, that was the word that I needed. Maybe it won't, but it will gain meaning as the year goes on. To help your reflection too, I know when you came in, I believe you received a little half sheet with some questions on it. So it's not homework, you don't have to do that, but it might be helpful if you have some time this week to go through those questions with your word and to spend some time reflecting on it. And I will say too that when you choose a word, and if by the end of worship you just have this feeling that this doesn't feel like the right word for me, you can choose another one. There are plenty in here, so after worship, come and find me, find the offering plate, and just choose another one, because I think you need to trust that instinct within you as well. For those who are on Zoom this morning, I know we did try to pre-deliver star words to some of you. If you did not receive one, I apologize for that. It's hard to always figure out who's going to be here and who won't. But if you let me know or call the office this week, we will make sure to get one to you as well. I will say too, I guess if you think of there's someone in your life that you would like to choose a star word for, I said we have plenty, so feel free to take one for a friend as well. So now I'll ask if Barb or Karen, whoever will help me distribute these. We'll take a moment, you can choose one, and then we have a star word prayer that we will say together. The plate will be left in the narthex, so again, if on your way out of church you'd like to switch one or grab an extra one, you are invited and more than welcome to do that. So I invite you to please stand as you are able and join me in our star word liturgy. When extraordinary things happen in the sky, we stop and notice. We look for comets, shooting stars, full moons. We watch for rocket launches, satellites drifting in space, in the space station circling our orbit. The Magi were paying close attention to the sky when they saw something different, a star that shone so brightly they were compelled to follow it. Just as the Christmas star once shone for all people to see, the light of Christ still shines for all people. May we use these star words as reminders of the Christmas star we invite into our lives, so that we might be led toward Jesus Christ. We are seekers, just like the Magi. Light our paths and lead us closer to you. We are looking for hope, peace, joy, love, and so much more that Christ brings.
Light our paths and lead us closer to you.
We long for the abundant life God promises.
Light our paths and lead us closer to you.
May this star word be one of encouragement.
Light our paths and lead us closer to you.
May this word guide our intentions in the days to come.
Light our paths and lead us closer to you.
May we pay attention to where God is present.
Light our paths and lead us closer to you.
May God use these words to show us how to live and love in the world. Light our paths and lead us closer to you. Amen. Let us sing together our hymn of the day, number 300, the first Noel.